Alright, pre-AP, we're on to our last outline, 8.15. Let's talk about vertebrates, things with a backbone. Alright, if you are a vertebrate, you are considered to be a member of the phylum Chordata. Please highlight if you're a member of the family or phylum classification Chordata that you possess a notochord. And we'll talk about what a notochord is in just a second. So, if you are a chordate, you also have 4 other characteristics about you. That notochord, it's just a flexible support rod. For you, it'll be your literal vertebral column. You also possess a dorsal hollow nerve cord. For you, highlight, it's going to be your central nervous system, your brain and your spinal cord, just like we see here. You have pharyngeal slits. Now for fish, this is going to be their lungs. For us, it will be our lungs. So remember, notochord, that's like your spine, your vertebral column, and then that nerve cord is actually going to be your CNS. That's your spinal cord with your brain. You also possess a muscular post-anal tail, which for us, it's going to be where our backbone curves down. Some people call that their butt bone. And we're also a deuterostome. Remember, the part of your digestive tract that develops first is going to be the anal portion. Vertebrates. Please highlight. These are chordates that possess a hard backbone surrounding a protective nerve cord. Because remember, your backbone, your vertebral column, is going to protect your spinal cord. That's why people with back injuries from either playing sports or a car accident, they're going to have, that's why sometimes they become paralyzed. Highlight that mostly these are large and active animals like us, and they possess a very high degree of cephalization. Remember, cephalization means that you have senses in the head region. You have an axial skeleton supported by a backbone. Which remember, axial skeleton, if you want to write out beside there, this is skull, so we'll write it down in here. This is skull plus vertebral column. Also highlight, you have ribs to protect your visceral mass. That's your heart and your lungs and your diaphragm. And your skeleton grows as you grow, which is very good because we don't have to molt or go through endocysis like that crayfish does or any other type of arthropod. Highlight that your axial refers to your central, and then you have appendages that come off of that skeleton, like our arms and our legs. Or if you're like this lizard, also a tail. You have nautical discs that have vertebrae. So remember, this disc is made of cartilage. That cartilage is going to give you some nice cushioning so that you don't have bone rubbing on bone. We have an advanced respiratory system. We have an advanced circulatory system, advanced digestive, advanced nervous. So let's get into some specifics. So this is fish. We have 2 types of fish. Our first one is chondrichthyes. Remember, chondra, like we talked about in prefix-suffix game, means cartilage. So these are the cartilaginous fish. These are the things like sharks and rays. Their teeth are the only bones they have. That's why you cannot find a complete skeleton of megalodon, that gigantic prehistoric fish. I have a video on it. We'll watch it. They have scaled skin. Remember, any type of skin is there to prevent desiccation or drying out, water loss. They have muscular fins and powerful jaws because why? They're predators. They have a highly advanced vision and olfaction, or olfaction. Olfaction means smell. That's why sharks can literally smell the blood of their prey in the water. So if it's an injured fish, they can smell that blood and know, ooh, food. That's why in the movie Nemo, whenever Bruce, something happens to Dory, remember she gets hit in the nose and she goes, oh, I'm bleeding. And Bruce smells that blood and he's like, whoa, food. They also have a lateral line system. It is literally a line that runs the length of their body and allows them to pick up vibration, kind of like ears. Like your hearing is you picking up vibrations. in your ears and making sense of it. Olichthyes, highlight, these are bony fish. Mainly freshwater fish, like bass, catfish, trout. Because remember, osteo means bone. These are the most abundant vertebrates. And they have an endoskeleton like us. They have a lateral line. And they have an operculum. And I'll show you a picture of an operculum. Operculum is the covering of the gills. They also have a swim bladder that allows them to be able to go to different depths in the water. And then they have external fertilization put out beside there where it says female eggs are laid outside the body. That is external fertilization. She lays her eggs in the water, and then a male fish will come by and deposit sperm, and then they'll be fertilized, and then zygotes will form. And then highlight that they have a 2-chambered heart, which means, let me go back. Out beside 2-chambered heart, put 1 atrium and 1 ventricle. Alright, we're ready to move on to part 2, amphibians. So remember, think about amphibians. We know about those. Those are things like salamanders, frogs. We're going to dissect a frog. So amphibians, cute little guys. We have salamanders here. We have froggies, toads. So highlight, these are tetrapods. That means 4 legs. 1, 2, and the other 2 are on the other side. They are scaleless. They have slimy, wet skin, so highlight. Their skin is moist because they're going to breathe through it. They have webbed feet. See their little feet? They're webbed. That allows them to be able to swim in the water. They have a 3-chambered heart. Please highlight, that means they have 2 atriums, unlike that fish had 1, and then 1 ventricle. Remember, atriums know, hey, these receive blood from veins, and then the ventricle pumps the blood out through arteries. Highlight, they have to have water for being able to lay their eggs. Remember, this is external fertilization. So please write that out beside there. They undergo a complete metamorphosis. Remember, just like with our insects, you have a larva and a pupa stage. So please highlight larva. It's a water herbivore. If we think about frogs, that's our cute little tadpoles that we see here. In this picture, we can see frog eggs that have been laid in the water. And then here are the tadpoles. That's the larva stage. And then you're going to have a urodela, which is you get a tail. Please highlight, these are aquatic or terrestrial. These are salamanders or newts. And I'll show you a picture. So urodela, these are salamanders or newts. These are our types of amphibians. You could be a anaurin, which is no tail. They are powerful. They have really good legs. These are our frogs. So powerful hopping legs, long tongues, because they're going to attach that tongue to their insect food and bring it back. These are frogs or toads. Remember, difference between frogs and toads. Frogs love to stay in the water mostly. Toads, on the other hand, they are going to live on land. That's why they have more bumpy skin. And then apodans, these are no feet. They have nothing. It kind of looks like a snake, almost. These are legless and they're blind. These are called sirens, if you want to put out beside there. And we can spell them. These are sirens. They live in the Amazon rainforest. And they live in caves or they're in the ground. They almost look like that giant earthworm that we saw. So please highlight that while we love amphibians, they are an important environmental indicator of water quality. Because they're not going to lay their froggy eggs inside water that is polluted or nasty. And highlight that acid rain and pollution are causing a lot of these species to die off because the rain's acidic and that pH being so low messes up and kills their eggs, or pollution gets in the water and it kills their eggs and they can't develop. Alright guys, we are done with this video, we're going to go on to part 3 and 4. Out beside reptiles, put part 3. Somehow I deleted that. But before we move on to part 3, we do need to talk about amniotes because that's where we're headed. So highlight amniotes. These are organisms that produce fluid-filled developed structure called an amnion. We're going to talk about that with reptiles, birds, and mammals. And then why we like them so much is they have an amniotic egg. Highlight, they are made with a shell with calcium carbonate. Put out beside there. This is like a bird egg. Some are hard, some are soft. And this egg, why we like to talk about it, is it has some embryonic membranes that allow animals to lay this egg on dry land. They don't have to put it in water like frogs and fish. And then they can, not have to worry about them as much. They can keep an eye on them. So, they have an amnion. Please highlight that's a fluid-filled membrane that the embryo, the baby, is going to float in. Allotois. Please highlight this is a membrane sac for waste collection because that baby is inside that egg is going to excrete waste. It's got to go somewhere. A choron. Highlight that's the membrane functions as gas exchange. That's where it's going to have oxygen come in and expel CO2. That yolk sac. Think about the yolk in a chicken egg. That's the food source. And then the albumin, that's the egg white protein. Why they need that? That's extra food. Should the yolk sac, they use it all up. Alright, that's the end of this video. If you want to see part 3 and 4, please go to the next video. Hope it was helpful.